There are some people in Web3 that have taken a lot of punishment. I'm one of those.
You're saying that the future will be that everyone in their home
People should own their data.
will have like a small computer data.
You can imagine many different technical paradigm shifts, but a characteristic of all of them is individual people become more empowered.
Thank you for coming here. My invitation was perhaps a little bit brute.
Not at all. Anise, I greatly appreciate your extemporaneous approach. It makes everything a lot more fun and lively.
Exactly, and I love the mindset of this country for that. And people that they're thinking about you, they're thinking like you. Sorry. Yeah. You know, I'm French. I speak French, Arabic, but English I'm trying to involve every day. I'm trying to,
I speak enough French to sound like a drunken toddler. It's terribly humiliating, and I have no Arabic at all, except for inshallah. Inshallah. That's all I've got.
That's a good one.
That's all I've got. So you are far, far ahead of me. Yeah.
Thank you for this kind word. So can you present yourself perhaps and sharing more who you are, what you do?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to. My name is Heather Lee Flannery. I am the co-founder and chief executive officer at an organization called AI Mind Systems Foundation. We are a nonprofit dedicated to the radical empowerment of the individual relative to corporations and governments through emerging technologies, new systems of governance, new economic structures. And I've been in the Web3 space since 2016. And I'm a serial entrepreneur and an impact-oriented innovator. Yeah, that's enough. Oh, and I live in Washington, D.C., which is an interesting place these days. And I shouldn't have said that actually. That was an unforced error. That's what that was.
Okay.
But I flew out from Washington, D.C. to attend this event for the 10th anniversary of Ethereum. I've been very close to the Ethereum community since 2016 and been working to break through barriers to adoption at scale, especially impact-oriented adoption that would drive healthcare and social services and access to resources in a more evenly distributed manner.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I like it.
And you, so I have to turn it back to you.
Yeah.
So Anise, you are interviewing me because your broader ambition and goal is fill in the blank.
Right. So my I like it. Yeah. So my ambition first is to improve my English. So this is my first step. But my idea from it is like I came here a couple of weeks ago. So I arrived the 1st June, right? And from there, I said to myself, okay, I like this feeling about building from scratch, building from nothing. I can't know anyone here. And every day, I try to make things to get this not adrenaline, but this dopamine of making things done, right? About the future, I hope for my goal for the future will be to stay in this building situation. So every day you have a new thing, every day you build something. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, to be honest with you, 100%. So I just throw myself on this empty space, and they said, okay, you know what do I like? I like to meet people. I like to speak. I'm curious. Yeah, I have some background, some diplomas in project management, entrepreneurship, business.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. I work.
Do those disciplines feel like utilitarian versus like a calling from a place of passion?
Yeah, I mean, I choose
You say them like they are project management, entrepreneurship, business. But what I really want to do, back to you.
So what I really want to do is to be to have an impact in this world. Actually, to be a founder, to resolve a big problem. I don't know what this big problem can be. I have a lot of idea, but this is the path. And about the things that I'm saying, like I did this and this and this, is I think it's perhaps an African or European uh, education or like environment. So we don't put ourselves too much in the front because of the culture, perhaps. I don't know. So I'm learning, how to express myself, how to introduce myself better than that. Um, yeah, but in the way I'm considering myself like an entrepreneur. But my goal is like to create something that I don't know yet, and I'm
That
okay with that.
that has a significant impact in the world,
Mm-hmm.
where you can look back when you're later in your life and see how the way that you strived and struggled and sacrificed made a huge difference in the lives of maybe millions or even billions of people. That is definitely an entrepreneur. That's a creator, a person who wants to manifest manifest meaningfully in the world. As a serial entrepreneur, I recognize those feelings. I'm on my fifth company at present.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think of it as an undiagnosed psychopathology, as a matter of fact, this need to be a creator.
Okay. And
I respect that very much.
the first time you got it, it was like when? How you begin your first path, for example?
Well, I'm going to skip over this crazy thing I did when I was 11 years old. That was actually where I gained some really valuable business experience, but I'm not going into that. My first real company was when I was 18, and it was a bridging Web 1 to Web 2 in the early 90s. And I was always fascinated with science and technology, but also completely uncomfortable being subject to authority. So you put those two things together, and the only path is entrepreneurship. Like if you require this independence, yet you love these things. So I was very passionate about what the future of the internet should look like and could look like, and have had this recurring theme ever since, where I tend to be able to see the longer term trajectories or repercussions of broad societal adoption of paradigm shifting technologies, like Web 1 to Web 2. And I did some very early work in that area that was fascinating.
What's Web 1 and what's Web 2?
Web 1 is static web pages.
Okay.
Where some publisher of a web page is essentially placing static content for the world to view. And Web 2 is characterized by people becoming content creators, the rise of social media, the rise of e-commerce. Those things have been really Web 2 since the early 2000s up to the present day. Like Web 2 runs our world, and Web 3, that we're all here at the Frontier Tower to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Ethereum.
Wow.
Amazing. It feels incredible to be here and be part of that. That is a paradigm shift from not only reading and writing and content producing, but actually an ownership of various parts of a technology stack. But you talked about wanting to create content, and Web 2 would have it where the content creators are really part of a surveillance economy. They are the product for large Web 2 companies that monetize that data in advertising-driven business models. And the broader ethos of Web 3 is to see parties like content creators and data subjects and others be empowered to participate economically in a deeper and more consensual way, as well as many other things. But
Okay, I understand. Thank you for this.
Web 1, Web 2, Web 3.
Yeah.
And then there's all these people, there was Web 4 and Web 5 ventures, and people have started, the numbers have started to get out of hand. So the numbering of web generations is kind of going away because people will apply new numbers thinking, well, we're going to leapfrog or we're going to skip several steps. So we're now Web X. Anyway.
Because of AI? Or?
Oh, no, just because of humans and the way we think and the way we try to disambiguate our work from prior work, or et cetera. So we come up with ways to label and frame things. And for a while it makes sense. And then eventually it's kind of disintegrates into cognitive chaos. But I think everyone at this point still has a consensus about what Web3 means, roughly.
That's very interesting. So you saw the transition between Web 1 to Web 2, and you saw the transition between Web 2 to Web 3. We did this transition, right? We
yes,
are on Web 3 right now.
I've had ventures and been engaged in always too early. Like that is my chronic weakness of I will see fairly accurately the way that a technology will unfold in time, and I'll see business problems that can be solved, and yet there are precedent steps that society has to move through, and that's why my ventures have not been multi-billion-dollar successes.
You was too early.
Too early, over and over again. But this time, I think I am finally preventing that error from recurring.
And how do you know if you are too early out or not?
Well, you don't until you have hindsight.
Yeah.
But I think I have learned over time there are various patterns. You have to find a way to monetize sustainably the earliest stages of an adoption curve. And so that tends to be a challenge. But where we are right now in Web3 and in AI and in privacy tech and related, I personally believe we are poised for radically scalable adoption, like really getting to hundreds of millions of users who don't know anything about the technology, that are not crypto traders, that are finding real value intrinsically in the use of these technologies.
I like it. It's very beautiful, but in the same time, so the people that I met in my path, some of them was doing crypto, some of them was doing Web3, some of them was doing NFTs, some of them was doing this kind of. And for an entrepreneur, you see all this opportunity, and you sometimes they said it to you like you wasn't here for the Bitcoin. Now you wasn't here for the NFTs. And you didn't saw this coming, and this opportunity is coming, another one and another one. And when I had this talk with people after like a couple of years, some of them did a lot of money, and the other just want to skip this part. So when I hear you now saying like Web3 is going to be scaled for everyone, I saw people from Web3 leaving Web3. And they was really like dedicated for Web3, and a lot of them like leave Web3, and at some point they want to believe they still want to believe on it, but on the other part they just skip it, like they said, okay, let's do something else. Okay.
Well, people have different callings, and many people will work in a field for a certain set of motives. Maybe they see the opportunity for rapid financial gain, for example, and they're drawn to that. They want a life-changing circumstance or a wealth-generating event that is not available in the regular economy. That's a perfectly good reason to be in any business, but it's not the same thing as being intrinsically motivated to do a thing. Meaning, aside from money, aside from wealth, you feel a commitment to affecting some particular mission. The mission that you're saying you're in the process of discovering right now for yourself. You're taking that in and you're incubating within yourself what is going to be this mission that you attach to. And all I could say is that I hope that that mission isn't about money. That if you succeed in creating a large impact, there are many structures within which you will find prosperity, and you will become a high net worth individual. That will occur, but that's not the reason to do it. And that it isn't reason enough to keep people committed to an outcome. And what I found is that when people, dedicate themselves to a field for a time and then they move on, it's simply that they had different motivations. There are some people in Web3 that have taken a lot of punishment. I'm one of those, like in the sense of sacrifices and failures, and yet here I am.
Yeah, you're back.
And I mean, it's just
of course.
Because the thing that's driving me, as much as I would enjoy great wealth, and I hope at some point I'm able to do that for my family and for my loved ones. I'm focused in this category of technology because the adoption of this category of technology is the only way. I firmly believe it is the only way that the kinds of change that I want to see in the world can be brought about. I use other technologies. It's not only this technology, but it's necessary. So I can't let it go. And if a business fails, that's not about a technology. Like, that's a business model. That's a go-to-market. That's a capital structure. That's not the technology itself, which is neutral and can be transformative if it can be adopted in the right social, economic framework or socio-technical approach.
When I see it like this, I see it like a game of trust. It's like when you trust this industry or not. And I think a lot of people trust it. And it can be this industry or another industry, right? If I understand well the Web3 is like to own your own data, or in a way you can, you don't need something between, like if we do a transaction together, we don't need someone who will write this transaction, because you are aware and I am aware, and this transaction can be money, like crypto, can be data, picture, videos, media, everything, right? This is the concept of the Web3, right? And the idea or the project that you are dedicated to is like, what's your dream like for this industry?
It is so the Web3 industry, since there was a Web3 industry, has been talking about people should own their data. And if anyone is going to monetize personal data, it should be the person. It should be the subject of that data, as opposed to brokers and intermediaries, absent the consent or the financial participation that's part of that. I believe that there is a way to structure a data economy that blends decentralized science and decentralized finance and decentralized physical infrastructures, networks and DAOs and novel governance models, and the far more frictionless economics that can flow with stable coins and other currencies. I place all of those things in a big bucket called Web3. So I wouldn't call NFT, that's just a Web3 technology, one Web3 set of Web3 primitives. With a differently structured data economy, it can change the entire notion of human labor, where a person could be compensated for literally anything that can be evidenced through a verifiable data set or a verifiable analytical payload, such that the very fundamentals of the economic structure of how humans survive on Earth can be altered radically to the positive right around the same time that many, many labor categories and job categories are being made unnecessary by AI adoption. So since 2017, I have viewed AI as the killer app for blockchain. I have peer-reviewed publications starting in 2018 about blockchain-facilitated, privacy-preserving, federated learning in regulated industries and so on. But the dream that I have is not just that people own their data, but rather individual people actually receive the technological and financial empowerment attendant from that data. Like we talk about self-sovereign identity a lot in Web3, which is, I refer to as the cornerstone of the foundation of all of it. But the purpose of a self-sovereign identity is to achieve data sovereignty. And the purpose of achieving data sovereignty is to achieve AI sovereignty. Right now, all of us are subject to influence through the AIs deployed facing us from governments and corporations. We can't, as individual humans, respond with parity. We don't have the wherewithal. We don't have the technological capability. And frankly, if you don't have personal data that has been aggregated and curated and is continuously expanding based on your ongoing digital footprint, you would not be able to develop AI that serves you uniquely. It's just not possible. Like self-sovereign precision AI for you. That doesn't happen without your data being aggregated from many different sources, but not in a centralized way, not in some giant data warehouse that is a honeypot for hackers, but in your private technological infrastructure environment. What I'm trying to bring about is you could think of a time, you could imagine many different technical paradigm shifts, but a characteristic of all of them is individual people become more empowered as the result of that. Like in the United States here, there was a time that there were no post offices. And anybody that wanted to get their mail had to drive into the post office. And the idea that every dwelling would have a mailbox was just crazy talk. Like just nuts. How would that be possible? How would you possibly get the mail to every single household? Now that is such a foregone conclusion. We would never imagine that is even difficult. And there was a time that it was unimaginable that every single person or most households would have a personal computer. Like, again, crazy talk. Only big corporations and governments had computers, and they took up whole floors and they cost millions of dollars. How could that be possible? And similarly, there was a time when the idea that every single person would have their own phone number was just nuts. Crazy talk. What are you talking about? And then this idea that every single person would have their own internet address where they could be reached individually, email address. Whoa, mind blown. Crazy. Now we can all communicate with each other through some of the worst protocols ever written, but that's another story. So that is a progression of paradigm shift to paradigm shift where innovation that occurs for governments and corporations eventually trickles down to we the people. And there is a coming paradigm shift that I want to accelerate. I want to speed it up, but I believe it's inevitable. It'll happen with or without me. If I were hit by a bus, it's still going to happen. But myself and my team, we want to speed it up radically. And that's where the next paradigm is that individual people actually have an entire computing apparatus. They have an MLOps pipeline. They've got a data governance stack. They've got not just an identity stack and an AI stack, but as robust a set of technical capabilities as at least a mid-sized corporation would have. But because of this combination of the AI innovation with blockchain, all the technical complexity Now a person doesn't have to understand technology. They don't have to be an engineer. They don't need to be educated on how to become an AI practitioner. It can be finally made accessible. Just like an individual person doesn't know how their cell phone works. I have no idea.
So if I understand well, the future, because you said to me like you see the new shift coming before they can. So sometimes you are too
Typically.
early, right? And what we are saying right now, when you talk all about this example, different example, you are saying that the future will be that everyone in their home, people will have like a small computer data, something, like they can store there the data, and they will have this AI with this data there in their own home or phone or where. Like it's
Well, there's a new class of critical infrastructure that is different from what the hyperscalers deliver today. So it's different from the business model and approach of an Azure or an AWS or an Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, et cetera. It does involve home-based computing apparatuses and networking and even telecom, but it's not exclusively about where it's physically hosted. But if you imagine the way a corporation creates an account with a cloud service provider. And everything that corporation does within that specific account, that tenancy of that cloud service provider, they own that. They own the data. It is protected. It cannot be merged with other companies. And even though it might be running on common hardware in a giant data center somewhere, there is still a boundary around that corporation's use of some specific physical infrastructure. The future that I'm describing has versions of physical infrastructure at different levels from the edge up to cloud, but individual human beings are able to have a relationship to that infrastructure like what corporations have today. But today, an individual person might have a Dropbox account and an email account and all of this technology that gets them certain narrow value propositions, but it's not at all analogous to what a corporation is able to do with technology. It's not even remotely the same. By introducing massive, 98% reductions in labor costs for technology operations and infrastructure as code and these things, we can bring that paradigm, that computing paradigm, to individual people, which even 3 years ago would have been crazy talk. And frankly, I was trying to do something pretty similar 3 years ago without generative AI. And the problem of how do you educate people to become familiar enough with technology to, what segment of the market would ever honestly want to learn these new skills in order to take on this new power? It was de minimis and very frustrating. And enter truly natural language interfaces in hundreds of languages expanding so rapidly that it doesn't even make sense to learn how to code from a software engineering perspective any longer. That wouldn't, it wouldn't even make any sense today to make that a focus. So part of the business involves a different kind of infrastructural host that has a different kind of relationship to consumers that looks a lot more like the way that the hyperscalers engage with corporations and offers as wide a scope of capabilities without having to be any kind of software engineer, cloud engineer, AI practitioner, none of that.
That sounds really good. So if I understand well, the future will be on more data center. This data center will provide cloud. This cloud can be like, if tomorrow we need, like tomorrow perhaps in 20 years, 30 years, I don't know, perhaps less, more, But like when you arrive like a citizen, you need to have your own data, your own space, your own cloud that he will bring your, because right now our
Yeah.
data are provided by us from this all this big company, right? Like
That's
Meta,
right.
like the Google. So they own the data center, and because they own the data center, they own our data, and they have the
And the business model that they employ. Yeah.
and the business model that they employ. So tomorrow we will have like this kind of data center, but private one or private one perhaps, and they will give us all of us a key or like just
Call it an account.
yeah.
Just like you have a wireless account, right? You may be with T-Mobile or AT&T or Verizon, and being in modernity means that you select a wireless provider. Being in modernity means you have often an address with a mailbox, and you have to have an email account, and these are basics of living in a digital first society. Similar to that, in the what I believe is the near future, individual people will be outfitted with a personal technology infrastructure. And yes, the governance, the capital structure, the value accrual. Like right now, all of the economic value accrual for storage and compute largely lives with the hyperscalers. It lives with the large cloud service providers. That's why they're so huge.
Wow.
That's a lot of storage and a lot of compute. And their business model is all about motivating organizations to bring more workload, more compute workload into their infrastructure. And there are direct-to-consumer products that run on their infrastructure, like a company that does something direct-to-consumer will ride on that infrastructure. But there is not presently a way for a community to have an ownership interest in a compute and storage apparatus that serves that community or has some shared value accrual. So it also borrows thinking from utilities as well. Like there was a time before there were power plants, and at that time, any business that had a requirement for power would install their own generator and their own energy distribution systems, and that for a time was the basis of competition between companies.
Yeah, sure.
And then the power grid came about and energy distribution systems came about, and that was no longer part of the basis of competition. And there became governance approaches that made access to power effectively like a human right.
So the solution should come from the governance.
Well, if you think about the path through which some innovation that first lives in a nice to have, in a luxury or in a novelty, but isn't intrinsic to the functioning of society, you wouldn't call that a utility. But then imagine an adoption curve of that technology, and now 80% of the public uses this technology and has become reliant on it. That point where something is no longer a nice to have or a luxury, but instead a necessity because of cultural change and social evolution, like the ability to participate in telehealth visits became a necessity during the pandemic. And those who were subject to what's called the digital divide, who did not have access to high-speed internet and also didn't have the technical literacy to know how to join a virtual visit, that was a time where society didn't even know that it already needed a utility, because until the pandemic, people were not aware of the reliance, like the necessity. Utilities come about when an innovation achieves a certain market penetration and a society evolves around it to the point that there are dependencies. at that point, utility business models start being employed. It's happened with water treatment plants, power plants, spectrum, many different innovations that have become utilities. Individual people will very soon have a reliance on access to their information, a reliance on being able to know what AI model to trust, to be able to issue content that is authenticated. All kinds of things are emerging in our society very quickly, where it might sound like a great idea for a startup, but my thesis is it's going to move past that effectively immediately into not a nice to have, not a, oh, cool innovation, but, oh, wow, if we don't have these capabilities as individuals, there are huge consequences. No one wants those consequences. And the businesses that administer that kind of thing aren't structured like venture-backed startups. They have large capital structures. They have governance models that involve multiple stakeholders. They have regulatory frameworks. They have oversight functions. It's just a far more robust and inclusive scenario, because this is not a nice to have. We can't have the cell networks go down. We can't lose access to power. And it's just a mental shift that occurs in the evolution of a society where something moves into that category from where it was before. And so we are actually creating a new class of utility, not a venture-backed startup, but a new class of utility that we believe is already necessary. And yeah.
And this is your last this is the company that you are working on since 3 years, you said, right?
No, actually, this organization I co-founded with a number of others in March of 24.
Right.
Yeah. So a year and a half, not even a year and a half, year and a few months.
Okay, so you co-found this organization.
Yep.
And you defend this idea that you just shared me, right?
I do. Yes.
I love it. Wow, this was really, really cool. Thank you for all this information that you give me and explain me this, because I don't know it. I didn't know it, actually. Yeah, I mean, do you have like a call to action, or you want to, I don't know, perhaps share something that people can find you somewhere?
Yeah. So we are in the process of incubating our programs and initiatives right now.
Right.
They're going to be launching to individual people and becoming available to people next year. And later in this year, we're going to be running pilot programs and pilot studies. And the best way to learn about the availability of those things as they come about is through our website, which is ai-mindsystems.org. And MIND is an acronym for My Individual Networked Data. And systems is a nod to complex adaptive systems and systemic interventions and systems thinking, systems sciences. But it's a multifactorial strategy that we're bringing about. But we're still early, and we've got a lot of work to do, and we need support, we need partnerships, we need collaborators. And I'm personally findable on LinkedIn is the easiest way to get me. I'm the only Heather Flannery that uses her middle name, which is Leigh, Leigh, so that I can be disambiguated. And we are very collaborative, very partnership driven, and very much about time to impact at scale. Like that's the metric that we are optimizing for.
That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this time with me, and thank you for all what you shared. This is really cool. I like it.
Anis, I have loved speaking with you. I didn't even really intend to share that much, but you inspired me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for this word.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right.